All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I'm your host, Uncivil Law, a licensed attorney in Texas, Virginia, and before the U.S. Supreme Court. And I hope you're having a great day. For this afternoon session, we are continuing on with the much anticipated, much desired testimony of Proctor, the lead detective. All roads lead to Proctor, and Proctor has taken the stand. Very exciting for everyone. And we are currently in the middle of the direct, which I imagine will go on all of today and may stretch into tomorrow. But we will see how things progress as they progress and go from there. This case has certainly been a bizarre one on any number of levels. So much evidence has been tainted or produced or collected improperly, produced improperly, reports not written properly. Just like a lot of problems in the evidentiary picture. And the test and the cross-examination of Proctor when we get there should be pretty real. So I'm looking forward to that, to be sure. Lunch was great. I had one of my factor meals. It was a salmon on some sort of cauliflower rice with some vegetables. It was very, very tasty. The factor meals are very nice. And hypothetically, I'm getting another delivery of factor meals today, which would be great because I'm out of food. So I need more. So hopefully they will come today, and hopefully they will deliver it to me at my door this time. We will see. Feel free to tell your friends, of course, that Uncivil Law is streaming. Let me go ahead and send out an Instagram notification to people. Let's get sponsored by Factor. I know, we really should. First, that Uncivil Law is understatement. I find all right, let's send out a notification. I can't apparently spell the word session correctly. Oh, there's an I in there. Okay. That doesn't look right. Is session spelled with an I? S-E-S-S-I-O-N? That doesn't look right. Yeah, it's correct. It's with an I. That just doesn't look right. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, apparently, yeah, it doesn't look right. Yeah, my brain is rejecting that spelling right now. That happens, I'm sure, to you from time to time. You ever have that issue where you read a word and you're like, that just doesn't look right. That doesn't look like the right spelling, but it is. That ever happened to you? It happens to me every once in a while. I assume it happens to everybody. Your brain just refuses to accept it. Or another one where you read the word and where it just looks completely wrong. The way it's written just looks like looks like just a jumble of letters, basically. It was like the cohesiveness of the word in your mind breaks down, so your brain doesn't process it as a word, so it processes it as its individual letters and doesn't like convert it into a word. And so it just looks like a random assembly of letters that doesn't really mean anything. Anyone ever have that problem? I've had that problem sometimes. I mean, we're talking about rare things, but you read a word and it's just like, I mean, you recognize the word. So it's very weird because you have like two parts of your brain working at the same time. Because like you recognize the word, you know what it means, but simultaneously it doesn't look like a word at all. That's a weird thing that happens sometimes. Hello, Tony. Welcome back as always. Tony has been awesome recently as a mod, of course. Continuing to crush it and help. We got the store up and running. We got the Uncivil Law store up and running. That's been exciting. It is right on our community tab. Well, it's right on the store tab, strictly speaking. But if you go over to the Uncivil Law main page, there's the integrated store. Home videos, live podcasts. I don't know what podcasts are. Apparently, Legal News Roundup is a podcast. But, we apparently we have a podcast and we have the store now. So you can check out like all these cool merch items. Some cool stuff there. It's like some shirts and stickers and other cool stuff, mugs. So you can check that out if you are so inclined. And also it should appear right below the video, I think, as well. So that you can just watch it get it from there. Because we have integrated now. So we have an integrated merch store now, which is kick-ass. YouTube recently reached out to me. Oh, I was supposed to have a meeting today. Oh, hold on one second. What time is that supposed to be? Okay, it's 4:00. Whew. I have a meeting with YouTube at 4. With my one-on-one consultant. So I have to end the stream before then, which should be fine because the court usually ends before then. But we'll have to end before that. Just FYI. They had recently reached out to me and be like, would you like to convert a bunch of your videos to podcast? And I was like, well, what's the advantage and what's the disadvantage? And they gave me a very generic answer. And I was like, I don't really understand it. So one of the things I'm going to ask them today about is this podcast thing and be like, what exactly is it? And why would I want to do that? What are the advantages and disadvantages of designating something as a podcast? Because we can make the Thursday Night Thunderdome a podcast, which isn't the worst idea. Also, incidentally, I have never before found the YouTube partner managers to be any help whatsoever. I've had a partner manager for like a year. It's one of the things you get when you cross 100,000. And I've never found my partner manager to be of any help at all. And they change who the partner manager is like every couple months, because I think it's a student thing. It's like a student thing. And so as the student goes back to school or whatever, like they are only like 2 or 3 months. So I've gone through quite a few of them, and I've never once found any of them to be helpful. They give you the most generic, useless advice. And it's like, can you give me something more specific for my channel? No. It's like, okay, so what good are you to me? You know, they're there essentially just to push like YouTube products, I guess. It's like, let me tell you about shorts and why they're good. But like, they don't have any numbers, right? It's like, okay, how do the numbers impact? Or how does it help with growth? Or what are they? It's like, it's very, very vague, generic, sanitized advice. I've never found the partner manager to be helpful. But since they recently contacted me about this podcast thing, I was like, okay. I reached out to them and was like, all right, let's have a conversation where you try to explain to me why the podcast thing is good or what it is, because I don't understand it.
You are unmuted.
Welcome back to session. You may be seated.
Bring the witness in, please.
Just be mindful to step up and just remember your phone.
So, jurors, before we begin, Mr. Lally, as you approach the podium there, when I tell you that I strike something from the record, I know I've told you before, that means you're not to consider it, okay? Go ahead, Mr. Lally.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
So, with reference to, I believe before we broke, we were talking a bit about Julie Albert and Christopher Albert, correct?
Yes.
And, how would you describe your relationship, if any, between Julie Albert and Christopher Albert prior to January 29, 2022?
Loose acquaintances?
People that you knew through your sister, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, with reference to the occasions that you had said where you may have been at the same place at the same time at a family function or something like that, over what period of time are we talking about, and about how many different instances of that occurred over those years?
Like I had mentioned, they had never been to my house. It was either at my sister's home or at my parents' house. Over the course of maybe 10 years, I might have been at the same function half a dozen times.
And at those times that you were at the same function a half a dozen times or so, how much interaction would you have with either Christopher Albert or Julie Albert or even Colin Albert at those functions?
Just casual conversation, be cordial, and just typical conversations, you know, hi, how's it going, things of that nature.
Now, with reference to these experiences or relationships, or lack thereof, that you had with Christopher and Julie Albert, what, if any, conversations did you have with your supervisors as far as superior officers within your unit in regard to this?
I explained the connection with my sister to the Albert family.
And who did you explain that to? Sir?
That would be Sergeant Mechanic, Lieutenant Fanning, and Detective Lieutenant Tully.
All right, Trooper, I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up, maybe approach the microphone a little closer.
And just with respect to those disclosures, what specifically did you tell either Sergeant Mechanic or Lieutenant Fanning or Lieutenant Tullis?
Basically that the Alberts are my sister's friends, that I've been at some functions with them, and the only kind of connection with the Albert family is through my sister.
And just when you say the Alberts, as far as who specifically within the Alberts are you talking about that had a friendship with your sister?
Julie, Chris, and their son Colin.
Now, with regard to the investigation that you were conducting and the interviews that you conducted, what, if any, impact did those relationships have with regard to your interviews of them specifically or the investigation in total?
Zero. Absolutely zero impact on this investigation.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Sir, I'm showing you a document. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what do you recognize it to be?
It's a text message thread labeled Proctor Friends.
Now, over the course of your investigation, over the course of this case, are you aware that there were iCloud data that was obtained from your personal cell phone?
Yes.
And different text strings from that iCloud data from your personal cell phone, correct?
Correct.
And with respect to what has just been placed before you, is that an excerpt or piece from those particular messages?
It is.
And from the front page of that, can you tell the jury who are sort of the participants in this particular text communication?
There's several numbers that aren't identified. The three that are under kind of nicknames me and my buddies have for each other.
And generally speaking, just as far as the participants in this text communication, who are these people to you, and how do you know them? How long have you known them? Who are they?
The members on this text thread are close friends from junior high, first grade even.
So people you've known for years, is that correct?
Correct.
And do each of them live, or do any of them live within the general area at this time?
Some of them do, yes.
And so when some of them do, some of them do not, is that correct?
Correct.
And the ones that do not, how far away do they live?
As far away as Tennessee.
Now, with reference to this, there's an indication as far as the first message sent or last message sent from this particular text chain, correct?
I'm sorry, repeat the question, please.
Sure. Sort of towards the middle of the first page. Let me direct your attention to that area. Is there any indication as far as the first message sent and the last message sent with respect to this text chain?
On the first page, yes.
And what is indicated as far as the first message and the last message?
The first message is, I need to brandish a gun more often. The last is, Chip, name of that BPD cop.
No, I'm sorry, sir. If I could direct your attention to the first page in this packet, page 2527, you see conversation details. Sorry, may I approach?
Yes.
So if I can direct your attention to the right.
Okay.
You see what I was talking about now?
I do, sir.
And from that area labeled conversation details, there's a first message sent, date and time, and a last message sent, date and time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What is the first message sent, date and time?
It's 10/18 of 2021 at 8:48 a.m. The last message sent is 8/31/2022 at 11:19 p.m.
And is there also within that conversation details an indication as far as number of messages over that time frame within this communication?
There is.
And what does it list for number of messages?
It's 38,707.
And fair to say the packet that you have before you does not contain all 38,707 messages, correct?
That's correct.
The first message that you had, I believe, alluded to in reference to the first one listed within this communication, what date and time is that?
That was January 29th, 2022 at 10:36 p.m.
And who is that message from?
My friend who lives in Tennessee.
And what, if anything, did he send to the group?
I need to brandish a gun more often.
And if you know, what is that in reference to?
He just recently moved to Tennessee, and he was kind of, I think, making a joke as kind of the lifestyle down there where guns are more prominent or more common to be carried around there. So I interpreted that as a joke in that nature.
Okay, well, all right.
And the next message, sir, from that same page, 2527.
The next one is, it's bold.
And is there a name associated with that number that's in these?
No,
Do you know who that person is?
I don't.
And the next message, sir, from 10:52 p.m.
Chip, name of that BPD cop.
And Chip, who is that referring to, sir?
That is one of my nicknames I've had since maybe high school.
So a nickname that would be familiar amongst these group of friends in particular?
Yes.
And this time period when these text messages begin, sometime after 10:30 or 10:50 p.m. on January 29th, where are you and what are you doing in reference around that time period?
At this point in time, on the 29th, I'm home.
And that last text message, do you respond to that at approximately 10:53 p.m.?
Yes.
And what was your response?
John O'Keefe.
And the next message down from there, also at 10:53 p.m.?
Yes. He took custody of his sister's kids.
That's your response. There is another response above that, is that correct?
Yes.
And what does that say?
How old?
And you respond as far as he took custody of his sister's kids, correct?
Correct.
Skipping down a couple, do you see an entry at 10:53:49 p.m.?
Yes.
And that's from a 617 number, is that correct?
Correct.
And what is the response there?
Oh man, that's rough.
And following that, do you respond to the earlier query as far as age?
I do.
And what did you say?
Mid-40s.
Now, the next message below that, as far as indication of mid-40s, what is that?
His age.
No, I understand that. I'm sorry. The next message underneath that, sir.
I'm sorry. It's a Facebook link.
And do you recall what that Facebook link is to?
It's to John O'Keefe.
And is that something you sent or one of your friends sent?
One of my friends sent.
And the next message below, turning to now page 2529 at the top there, what is the next message that's sent?
What's that? Don't have the book anymore.
And as far as the book, what did you understand that to mean? May we approach?
Sure.
Yeah, the judge's rulings in this are, it's hard not to see bias. I mean, bias is not my first conclusion. We've talked about this a lot, but it's really hard to listen to the judge's rulings and consider them in their aggregated totality and not come to the conclusion of bias. At least to me, it feels difficult. Yeah. As they discuss what they're trying to discuss, I suppose, over here at the trial. A lot of quiet.
10-minute break, okay?
All right.
So do you have that copy for me?
All right.
And then we get to look at the spinning fan. I'm here for the OnlyFans content. That hot OnlyFans content. I mean, it gets me hot and bothered every single time, which is just as well because then the fan can cool me off. So that's nice and convenient for everybody's concern. The fan is not the only thing in the room spinning. Also spinning the witness. There's got to be an OnlyFans page that literally is OnlyFans, right? Someone must have done it, right? Surely there must be an OnlyFans page that is just fans. And if not, I'll create one because it sounds hilarious. We'll just find video of fans and post it.
Hey there, Karen Reed trial watchers.
Shut
This is
up.
a law and crime legal alert.
No one cares about your incognito bullshit stuff over there. More than one, I would think. Yeah. More than one, yeah, it seems pretty obvious. I'm just trying to design a thumbnail for our Thursday Night Thunderdome podcast. So I'm just creating Little thumbnail here in the background. Thursday night legal Thunderdome. How much money do lawyers get for that incognito thing? I'm sure they'll get a ton. Yeah, the rest of us will get $5. The lawyers will make, $200 million or something. Yeah, that sounds very, very plausible. All right, we now have a thumbnail for the Thursday Night Legal Thunderdome podcast. Exciting. What else can we talk about while we're waiting for the court to come back? There's got to be an Uncivil podcast. Yeah. Which one am I most excited for the Supreme Court? I'm most excited for the Chevron decision. I mean, that's the one that I'm most excited for because Chevron might die. So I'm very excited about that. Chevron is a case I've railed about many, many times on stream. There's a very real possibility the Supreme Court's going to overturn it this term, and I'm very excited about that possibility. The upshot of it is it will reduce the power of the administrative state. It won't cripple it or anything. It won't make it disappear, but it will constrain their power. I mean, to be quite fair about it, really only on the margin, but that's fine because the margin is, a problem by itself. So it might, it might only be like a 5% blow in the grand scheme. I mean, I haven't really thought, sort of done the math on that. So it might only be a 5% or 10% blow, right? So the administrative state, this is federal, of course, federal administrative state. The federal administrative state might only be 90% as powerful as it used to be, but still, that 10% is not nothing, right? The 10% is a lot of how they get to screw with people's lives. So the practical impulse of it is it will constrain the administrative state to what it's supposed to be and not so much on the excess. So it will keep them from effing with people on the margin as much. So yeah, there might only be 5 or 10% in it, but still it's a big deal. And more the point for me, it's just Chevron is a legally incorrect decision. So I just want it to be overturned for that reason. It's just legally incorrect. It doesn't make any sense. Along with Auer and Brand X, the trinity of cases, right? Which hopefully all those cases come along for the ride, because why wouldn't they? So hopefully they all come along for the ride. So it might be a trifecta of cases that die. But Chevron is the case on which Auer and Brand X are built, so one would presume. But we'll see. Yeah. Although, the gnashing of teeth by the more left-leaning media will be very real. They've already written think pieces about how this will, cripple the administrative state and blah, 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 and all the rest of it, right? So it's and when it happens, I'm sure that CNN will go completely batshit crazy and, say how this is the end of everything and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then there is, of course, the issue of Trump and immunity relating to presidential immunity as it relates to his official acts, which is a very interesting issue to try to tease out legally. And it'll be very interesting to see what the Supreme Court does. And it's like, if we, for his official acts, is the president immune for his official acts? And yeah, it's one of those things where neither answer seems great. Like neither yes nor no seems great. So I'm very interested to see what I assume the Supreme Court's going to say some version of yes. Now, what version of yes they're going to say, I don't know, but they're going to say some version of yes. It might be yes, but it'll be some version of yes as to the question of whether the president enjoys immunity for his official acts. We'll see. It could also hypothetically be no, which would also be really interesting if the answer is no. But I assume it's going to be yes, but. And then there'll be an argument about the scale of the exceptions, if there are to be any, right? The yes, he's immune is the cleanest. But if the answer is yes, but, then there's going to be presumably an argument about what the but is and how wide or not that is. So that case is very interesting legally. And I really look forward to reading it because it's going to be very educational on a lot of levels. Trying to figure and tease that one out. So that one will be interesting. But unlike Chevron, which I've thought through deeply and know what I know what I think the answer is. So it's like I've got that one down. I know what the answer in Chevron is. I've got it. I got an opinion. I know exactly what the answer is. I've got it down. I've been thinking about this for years. I've got it. I've got the answer. Right. So, but the Trump case poses more of a question where like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the answer is. And so the Supreme Court will provide an answer and provide its reasoning. And then I will look through the answer and look through a reasoning and presumably dissent and also its reasoning and try to figure out whether or not any of their answers make any sense. And that'll be fun. Billy, it's not so much the question of what do we want to allow the president to do. The question is constitutional. What does the Constitution say? It's a constitutional question. So the question isn't normative. So your question is slightly poorly phrased because your question is what do we want? And that's a normative question. But the question isn't normative. The question is what does the Constitution require? Which is not a normative question. It's a question of what does the Constitution say? And what is the scope of it? So, yeah, asking what we want is not the right question. But thank you anyway. What happened to the Karen Reed trial? They're on break. They're having some sort of bench conference and we're just killing time while they discuss the objection to whatever. Do I have a guess as to the bump stock ruling? Well, Chevron doesn't apply in the bump stock ruling because it's criminal. And because it has criminal as opposed to civil penalties, because it has criminal penalties, Chevron does not apply. So that's nice. So my anticipation would be that the bump stock ban will not be upheld by the Supreme Court because it has criminal components to it. And Chevron does not apply when there's criminal exposure. And if you go read the statute, it doesn't really seem like the bump stock ban would apply to the way the statute's written. So I don't expect Chevron to really come up in the case. If it comes up at all, it's kind of a throwaway at best. And my expectation is the Supreme Court will strike down the bump stock ban because the statute doesn't support it. And that's a question of statutory interpretation, not constitutional. The Second Amendment probably won't get mentioned, and if it does, it's as an aside, because it's fundamentally not a constitutional problem. The fundamental problem is what does the statute allow for? It's a statutory issue. Have I gone over the Kansas Supreme Court ruling that no right to vote exists in Kansas? No, but that doesn't surprise me. the issue of whether there's a right to vote is interesting. And to the extent there's federal case law on point, my best understanding, and it's been a while since I've read any related cases, but the best understanding is the right to vote is not an individual right. It's a collective right. Like they said that guns were when they were making that argument. So the right to vote is not an individual right. It's a collective right. Also, like kind of serving on a jury would also be an example of a collective, not individual right. So to say there's no right to vote might be correct. If you go read the Constitution, for example, the Constitution talks a lot about like you can't be prevented from voting based on X, but it doesn't say that you can't. It doesn't fundamentally say that people have a right to vote. It just says voting shall not be denied. For example, it says voting shall not be denied on the basis of race, or voting shall not be denied on the basis of sex. Right? That's what it says. But if you just deny it to everybody, then you're not denying it on those bases. Right? If you just say no one can vote, then you're not denying it on the basis of sex. You're not denying it on the basis of race. You're denying it universally, and that's different. So it's not clear fundamentally that there is a fundamental right to vote under the U.S. Constitution either. And also, like with the Electoral College, also for that matter, that the states, when it comes to choosing the president, can kind of do anything they want. So if you're talking specifically about president, I would say that there is no right to vote for president. The states have the right to choose how their electoral votes are divvied up, which can be anything they want. It can be the legislature doing it. It could be the governor doing it. It could be anything they dream up. Voting is an option, but is not required, fundamentally, under the constitutional text. Yeah, denying because of felon status. Yeah, see, that's one example where it's not seen as an individual right. It's seen more as a collective right. Because if it were an individual right, you'd go about analyzing it a bit differently. So it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that the Kansas Supreme Court said under their constitution there's no fundamental right to vote. That doesn't surprise me. Depending, of course, on voting for what, you know. So even assuming there's a right to vote for what is always the question. What offices would you have a fundamental right to vote for? Would be a question. Like fundamental right. If you have the right to vote, which offices do you have the fundamental right to vote for? It's clearly not all of them. You don't vote for every executive office. You don't vote for every executive employee. So it's clearly not all of them. So which ones do you have the right to? And that makes it a more interesting question. Yeah. Article 4, Section 4.
You are
Put the witness
unmuted.
back, please.
Yeah. Article 4, Section 4. Yeah, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, whatever that means, which incidentally, there's basically no case law on that point. There's very, very little. There was a Supreme... I'm going back in my mind a little bit, but every time the Supreme Court has ever been asked about a republican form of government, they've refused to say it, that something's required. The only times they've ever been asked, they've declined the question. I seem to vaguely recall at one point in like the 19th century that like Rhode Island, there was a debate over which government was the true government of Rhode Island. There was a serious dispute over which government was the true government of Rhode Island, and I don't even think the Supreme Court got involved then. So yeah, that doesn't go as far as you might want it to, I don't think.
Nightmare, forget about the kids, that's awful.
And sir, if I could direct your attention again within that same packet to 2532. And there's a message there sent at 10:56 p.m., is that correct?
Yes.
And who's that from?
A friend who lives in Tennessee.
And what does he say in that text?
I'm sure the owner of the house will receive some shit.
And you respond at 10:56 as well as 10:57, is that correct?
Correct.
And what is it that you respond?
My first response was nope. Homeowner is a Boston cop too.
And what, if anything, were you saying, or what was the purpose of that text in regard to the homeowner?
I was just letting him know that essentially Mr. O'Keefe is a Boston cop and the homeowner was a Boston cop as well.
Now, if I could turn your attention to 2533. And top of the page, sir, if you could read through that page as far as who's texting and what are they saying?
Again, for my friend from Tennessee and myself, I hope not, but I can't see it. I responded with, she waffled him. I looked at his body at the hospital. He was banged up.
Now, as far as the next text from a 781 number, what does that say?
Did he get beat up?
And you responded to that, is that correct?
I did.
The objection is sustained as to form.
What, if any, response did you provide to that?
Nope.
Objection. The objection was to the former question and the answer.
I'll strike it.
Thanks.
Now, turning your attention to 2534. And from this page, sir, if you could, again, just read through as far as indicating to the jury who's speaking and what is being said.
From the start of the first text, so the owner of the house?
Yes.
So the owner of the house was a woman cop that beat him? That's what I initially thought after talking to Can paramedic. Then I saw the guy.
And those last two are your responses, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, the following text messages are from your friends, is that correct?
Yes.
What do they say?
Bear, let's focus. What does she waffle to mean? What's the story? I responded, she hit him with her car.
And the she that you're referring to there, who is that?
Miss Reed.
Now, turning your attention to the next page, 2535. Again, if you could start at the top of the page and read through that page and just indicate to the jury who is talking and what is being said.
Okay. My friend in Tennessee states, okay, that's fucked up. I respond, intentional or not. Then another response, gotcha. He was frozen in the driveway and she didn't see him, question mark. That's another animal we won't be able to prove. And then I respond, they arrived at the house together, gone to an argument.
I didn't speak out loud or out of turn.
The objection's overruled.
Your Honor,
But
if I could say this, there needs to be an identifier of who's speaking.
I understand what you think the mix-up is. So, Mr. Lally, go back.
Thank you.
Sir, if you could please, again, start at the top of the page and just indicate.
No, just after the gotcha, he was frozen in the driveway, correct, Mr. Jackson?
That's correct, Your Honor. Thank you.
I respond, that's another animal we won't be able to prove. I follow that up. They arrived at the house together, got into an argument. She was driving and left. 781 number responds with, what's the name of the Canton cop living in Canton, the other one involved.
And how do you respond to that, sir?
There's several other messages before I issue a response.
Objection again. Bottom of the page.
So it's not an objection, but Mr. Lally, why don't you point him?
So, sir, at the bottom of page 2535, you have a response, is that correct?
Correct.
And what is that response?
They arrived at the house together, got into an argument. She was driving and left.
Objection.
So it's going to be a matter you can address on cross.
There has to be some accuracy. If the reading.
So I understand. So, Mr. Lally, why don't you go point for your witness?
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
The judge seems so incredibly irritated by just like following the rules. Judge just seems so irritated. It's kind of almost hilarious.
Okay. It's a HTML link, whiteout / Proctor iCloud / group chat Feb 2022. So you point out.
Can I see what you have for a second, please?
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Lally, it's on there. Why don't you go show your witness? Why don't you just read it, Mr. Lally, and tell us who you attribute it to?
Sure. So, sir, what I'm asking you about is the bottom of page 2535, 2535. You indicated biffed him, correct?
Correct.
What did you mean by that?
That Miss Rita struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2537. Now, do you see a response toward the bottom of the page from yourself, January 29, 2022 at 11:04 p.m.?
Yes.
And can you read that response for the jury?
Yeah, but there'll be some serious charges brought on the girl.
And what did you mean by that, sir?
That throughout the course of the day, we had compelling evidence that Miss Reed struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
And
you?
You have two responses from friends, the same friends, at the bottom of that page, 2537, is that correct?
That's correct.
And what are those responses?
Keep your voice up loud, please. Trooper Proctor, jurors can't hear you.
Yes, Your Honor. Number ending in 5051. Got to be, I can only imagine what internal affairs of the BPD are trying to get out there. The second response, same number. She hot at least.
And turning your attention to the next page,
Is she hot at least?
At the top, if you could just read a number series of responses from yourself, correct?
Yes, sir.
Read from those, sir.
Yep, so these came from me. From all accounts, he didn't do anything wrong. She's a whack job. CUNT.
Objection.
So don't spell it. You have to. So these are your words, Trooper Proctor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and say them.
Cunt. Yes, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though. No ass.
No ass.
And sir, what is it that you were referring to there, or why would you text that?
These were, from all accounts, he didn't do anything wrong. Is talking about the homeowner, Mr. Albert. I had mentioned the compelling evidence against Miss Reed at this point indicated that Mr. Albert had nothing to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death. The rest of the unprofessional and regrettable comments are something I'm not proud of, and I shouldn't have wrote in a private or any type of setting.
Yeah. Are there things you regret maybe that you did that were a little unprofessional perhaps you want to talk about?
Sir, at some point, if I could turn your attention to page 2540.
Flat ass. Nice.
And there's a photograph that's shared within this text communication, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And does it indicate who shared that photograph? From the prior page, possible.
The number ending in 5051.
And who is depicted in that photograph that was shared within the group text?
It's Miss Reed being escorted out of the State Police Milton Barracks.
And these are all from February 1st of 2022, around that time frame, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, sir, if I could direct you to page 2543. And sir, if I could direct you to the top of the page and ask you to read through that page, indicating who's speaking and what the content of those communications are.
Okay. Number ending in 4146. Question is that chick a smoke? Again, 4146 question mark. I respond EH. I respond again, nutbag, as Chief would say. I also respond with, she's got a leaky balloon knot, leaks poo.
What?
And what, if anything, is that in reference to, sir?
Again, to Ms. Reed's some medical conditions there. Again, unprofessional
What?
comments I should not have made, that I'm not proud of.
She leaks poo? What?
As far as attitudes expressed within these text messages and other text messages, what, if any, impact did that have as far as your investigation was concerned regarding Mr.
These juvenile, unprofessional comments have zero impact on the facts and the evidence and the integrity of this investigation. They said these are unprofessional comments, but they absolutely do not detract from the integrity of the investigation or the facts and evidence of it.
Uh-huh.
Now, may I approach this retreat?
I mean, not for
Yes.
nothing, but it does express some personal animus that might be suggestive of potentially clouding your judgment.
Now, Trooper Proctor, you've seen text messages amongst yourself and a variety of different people from that same sort of iCloud area of your personal phone, correct?
Correct.
And among those, are there communications that you had with members of the Canton Police Department?
Yes.
And how would you characterize, or what was the general content of communications that you had with members of the Canton Police Department?
One communication was to coordinate interview times for firefighters and police officers and to set up a conference room where those interviews could be conducted. Obviously, the presence of Canton detectives or any police officers were not going to be sitting in on these interviews. Another communication was to inquire of relevant security videos that are in the area. Their local department, they know the area very well, so I reached out and asked if there's some good cameras in the area that I had of kind of interest in.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
I'm showing you another document, just asking if you recognize that.
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize that to be, sir?
Text communications between my sister and I.
That's your sister Courtney, is that correct?
That's correct.
Oh, dear.
And similar to what I'd asked you about the prior packet, as far as a first message sent, date and time, last message sent, date and time, what is indicated on this first page?
First message sent, date, time, December 10th, 2021 at 9:33 p.m. Last message sent, 8:30, 2022 at 8:48 p.m.
And 8:30, that's August 30th, is that correct?
I'm sorry, yes, August 30th, 2022.
And similarly to the other messages, is there an indication as far as how many number of messages were sent between yourself and your sister over that time period?
2,865.
And fair to say that the documents in front of you do not contain 2,865 messages?
Correct.
Now, just in reference to the first message on page 2662, the first page in this packet, do you see that from December 10th of 2021 at approximately 9:33 p.m.?
Yes.
And what does that indicate?
A text message from my sister.
And What does it say?
I called earlier, Dolph earlier, and Mom was puking in the background.
And do you recall what that was in regard to?
From the sounds of it, my mother had the stomach bug.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2667. And these are text messages from January 29th, 2022, between yourself and your sister Courtney, correct?
Correct.
And if you could read from the top of the page through the end, and please indicate to the jury as far as who's talking and who's saying what.
So I texted my sister at work, "What's up?" She responds, "What? Why?" I respond, "Oh, just found it frozen to death on a front lawn in Canton this morning. Actually just interviewed Jen McCabe, said she knows you."
And they knows you, who are you referring to?
My sister.
And how did your sister respond to that?
Cut the shit. I responded, "You." There was a typo correction with my response to you. She responded, "Yeah, she knows Jack very well. She's really good friends with Julie." My sister continues on. Her sister is married to Brian Albert. My sister asks, "You still working?" ? I says, yeah, gonna be out for a while. Homicide.
And as far as your answers to those questions, or as far as your communications that you had with your sister at this time on the afternoon of January 29th, what were those in regard to, or why were you communicating that to your sister?
At that time, it was just kind of in the news. I was just kind of letting her know I was out working. She didn't share anything specific. I wouldn't share anything specific on cases with my family or anyone. It was just kind of an overall innocent conversation.
Now, turning your attention to the next page, 2669. Again, if you could read from that page as far as who was talking and what the content is.
All right. My sister starts off, "The Canton thing is a homicide." I respond, "This is at 3 in the afternoon on the 29th. Don't say a word to anyone." She said, "Of course not." I respond, "At the very least, it's suspicious." She responds, "This is your livelihood." And then, "I would never miss with that." 3:07, I respond, "Julie and Chris were at the bar with the victim and girlfriend. Got to interview them."
Sorry for the beeps. That was my fault.
I'd like to direct your attention to page 2672. These are messages from February 1st, 2022, is that correct?
Correct.
And the one at the top starts about February 1st, 5:57 p.m., is that correct?
Yes.
And again, if you could read through as far as who's speaking and what the content of those messages are.
I texted my sister, "What's up?" She responded, "Nothing. I just saw Julie, and she said when this is all over, she wants to get you a thank you gift." And I respond, "Get Elizabeth one." Elizabeth's my wife. And my sister responds, "Because I guess her and Chris were friends with John, and she's so proud of you for leading this." And then she writes, "Elizabeth?" ? I respond, "She's been stuck with the kids for the last 10 nights. My sister responded, "Yeah, but she knew what life is like married to a cop."
And sir, as far as the gift that's mentioned as far as Julie Albert, is that anything that you have received at any point in time?
I never received a gift. I never asked for a gift. My wife never received a gift. She never asked for a gift.
So how would you describe this context of this conversation or why that's being discussed at this time?
Again, I don't know the thought process of my sister and Julie as far as bringing that idea of a gift into play. Like I said, I didn't ask for one. I never received one. The same with my wife.
Sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2676. And again, if I could ask you to start at the top of the page and read through and just indicate as far as who is saying, who is speaking and what they're talking.
I start out, we write like 8 to 12 warrants on each case. My sister responded, no, I have no idea what the hell you do or how it works. I responded on the 10th at 7:36 p.m. I'm starving, but I also just want to go home. Thanks, though. My sister responds, yeah, but is dinner going to be waiting? She responded with, ha, ha, ha. And then I responded, yep. And then my sister responded with, okay, it's fine. Mom and I just don't want to go home.
May I approach her?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
And we know the document, sir. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that?
This is private messages between my wife and I.
Again, what is your wife's name?
Elizabeth.
And what, if anything, does that indicate as far as dates and times and number of messages involved?
Okay, so the first message sent 5/20/2022 at 6:19 p.m. The last message sent 8/31/2022 at 9:16 p.m.
And what, if any, indication does it give as far as number of messages within that text chain?
1,632.
And of those 1,162, there's one message that's listed on that. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what is the date and time of that message, and what does it say, and who's speaking?
This is me speaking on June 9th, 2022 at 4:56 p.m. I text my wife, waiting to lock this whack job up.
And what are you referring to in that text, sir?
I'm referring to the arrest after Ms. Reed was indicted by the grand jury.
And again, as far as the terminology that you use in that text message to your wife, why is that?
Again, unprofessional messages I should not have sent. I don't have an explanation other than they're regrettable and it's something I'm not proud of, the language I used.
I approach the retriever.
Yes.
This is gold. This is so gold.
So, Trooper Proctor, the jurors can't hear you. So speak directly into your microphone the way I'm doing, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is so good. Popcorn! Popcorn time! The compilation channels are going to have a lot of fun with this stuff. They're going to have a lot of fun with this one. I look forward to watching the compilations of reactions. This guy is just unreal. This guy is so unreal. The text messages that he's sending, the delicious use of the C word. She leaks, apparently. She leaks poo. And can't wait to get this woman. Man, just the professionalism over here. In some ways, though, it's just per normal in this case. It's hard to tell what is the most unprofessional. So normally I'd say this is the most unprofessional, but given what else has occurred in this case, I'm honestly not sure I can even say that it's the most unprofessional. It's just par for the course unprofessional, because that's how we roll in this part of Massachusetts. Which unprofessional is most unprofessional? Please comment below. The solo cups the solo cups might still have the winner. That's just the unlabeled, uncapped solo cups in the brown paper Stop and Shop bag that then were not labeled by the lab, and then we only tested one of them, but not for DNA. The solo cups might win the race for most unprofessional.
Now, Trooper Proctor,
saying.
familiar with conversations that's within the same text communications from your personal phone with colleagues of yours at the state police?
Yes.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Sir.
We need a poll. What should go in the poll? Okay, let's say okay. We'll start a poll. What is most unprofessional? Okay. Proctor's text messages. Everything solo cup related. Let's add another option. Leaf blowers and push brooms. And what should be option number 4?
May I have a moment with counsel?
Okay.
Let's say mistaken police blogs and reports. All right, you guys can vote on which is most unprofessional. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know, guys. There's a lot of stupid here. Which one is most stupid is a pretty tough poll option. Charging her in the first place is pretty unprofessional. I have to agree. Or at least going to trial. At least going to trial would be the most unprofessional. That might be true.
Thank you. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Showing you another document, sir. Before I get into that, though, if I could turn your attention back to some of the comments on the language used in the January 29th and February 1st or 2nd text communications among your friend group. With reference to that particular time frame in the language that you used, what sort of information have you gathered to that point, and why would you say or use that particular language in your, particularly in your descriptions of the defendant?
So this is, 16, 18 hours later, and I conducted multiple interviews.
Speak up.
Conducted multiple interviews. We knew Mr. O'Keefe never went into Fairview Road. We knew there was one shoe at the scene, one shoe at the hospital. based off Mr. O'Keefe's injuries, Ms. Reed's statements when Sergeant Buchanan and I interviewed her, her broken taillight, the missing taillight, some taillight pieces found at the scene, the compelling evidence pointing directly at Ms. Reed that she struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle led me to make those comments. Whether, like I said, they weren't professional comments, but based on the day's investigation, it was clear that Ms. Reed had struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
Sir, if I could turn your attention to the documents before you, do you recognize those?
I do.
And as far as the participants in that particular conversation, who are the participants listed there?
It's Trooper David DeChico and myself.
And Trooper DeChico and yourself both work within the same unit with the state police, is that correct?
That's correct.
All the sirens in the world are not going to save you,
And
sir.
beyond the professional relationship you have with yourself, between yourself and Trooper DeChico, how would you characterize your relationship, generally speaking?
We're buddies, you know, we golf together, hang outside of work, you know, our kids play together, so I'd say, you know, we're friends.
Now, within the, again, as far as the first message sent, date and time, and last message sent, date and time within this conversation, if you could describe that for the jury.
First message sent, date and time, March 17th, 2022, 11:08 a.m. Last message sent, date and time, August 18th, 2022, 6:08 a.m.
And again, the number of messages listed within this text chain.
87.
And fair to say the documents before you do not contain 87 text messages, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Now, just in general terms, if you have an opportunity to just look at the first couple pages there, fair to say those are just sort of jokes that you have going back and forth between yourself and Trooper DeChico, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Now, if I could turn your attention specifically to page 2632. And these are text messages starting on April 28, 2022 at 10:52 in the morning. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, what was the time again, sir?
April 28, 2022, 10:52 a.m.
Yes, correct.
And again, sir, with reference to this page, if you could read the content to the jury and please indicate whom is speaking at each respective times.
Okay. I start out without a doubt. He's got diarrhea of the mouth too. Trooper DeChico, rookie move, not going into a meeting with the ME and getting that homicide determination. I respond, Yuri and I had 2 conference calls with her, sent her numerous photos, etc. We laid out the entire case for her. Trooper DeChico responds, not good enough, should have had me or Jeff do it. I respond, if you two did it, she would have made it accidental or natural causes.
Ooh.
And can you explain the context of those communications, or what exactly is it that you and Trooper DeChico are talking
Are you
about
telling me the
in that?
medical examiner would have said
So the
accident
ME
or
is the
natural
medical
causes
examiner.
on
They
their own,
conducted the
so you had to
autopsy
get
of Mr.
involved?
O'Keefe.
Ooh.
Our office, it's kind of a little bit of a locker room.
Hold on, wait for the ambulance and then speak up. The jury
Heaven
can't hear
forbid
you
the
way back
medical
where the court
examiner look at
officer's
this
standing.
independently, because they might say accident or natural causes, and that isn't right. So we got to get involved so they'll come to the right answer. Holy shit.
So like I said, the ME stands for medical examiner. They conducted the autopsy of Mr. O'Keefe. I guess I'll address the conference calls Sergeant Buchanan and I had with the medical examiner. The doctor had some questions as to the facts and evidence, kind of what had transpired, which is common. You know, even if it's a homicide, I've had many calls with the medical examiner's office, even if it's a suicide or overdose, always with a homicide, the doctor wants to know what transpired. Trooper DeChico and myself, we kind of like to bust each other's chops, go back and forth. So that's what he meant by saying, rookie move, not going into a meeting with the ME and getting that homicide determination. The original determination came back.
Sustained. Next question, Mr. Lally.
You don't want to talk about what the original determination
Now,
was?
as far as
Yeah.
attending the autopsy, is that something that typically someone within your office would do, within your unit would do with regard to any sort of death investigation?
Yes.
And do you know who attended the autopsy of Mr. O'Keefe in this specific case?
Trooper Connor Keefe.
And so as far as Trooper DeChico's reference to you not going in, or Sergeant Mechanic not going in, is that what you believe Trooper DeChico was referring to in that message?
Objection.
Sustained as to the form.
You indicated that you and Trooper DeChico bust each other's chops. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And can you describe a little more, expound upon that as far as the nature of your relationship and sort of the text messages that you exchange in this and then other communications that you have?
Basically just, kind of needling each other, and him doing that is by texting me, rookie move, not going into meeting with the medical examiner. So that's a perfect example of him kind of just needling me, which we do on a daily basis.
And as far as your interpretation of that, did you interpret that as a serious comment or something said in jest?
I interpreted that as a typical joke from Trooper DeChico.
Now, may I approach to retrieve?
Yes.
I guess it's a rookie move when you don't meet with the Emmy, because the Emmy might come to the quote-unquote wrong conclusion, right? We don't really believe in an independent Emmy over here. We want to make sure the Emmy comes to the correct, good conclusions. Fun.
May I approach room?
Yes.
Showing you another document, asking do you recognize that?
Yes.
Do you recognize that?
Text messages between myself and Trooper DeChico.
And again, what is the first message sent, date and time, last message sent, date and time, and number of messages contained therein?
First message sent, date and time, April 28th, 2022 at 1:09 p.m. Last message sent, date and time, April 28th, 2022, 4:45 p.m.
And the number of messages, sir?
4.
And if you could read the contents of those messages contained therein. Please indicate who's speaking.
So I started out, of course, it's undetermined. She was a whack job.
The Emmy said undetermined.
Trooper DeChico responds, "Dear God, WTF, what the hell is inconclusive about the whole thing?"
The medical examiner couldn't determine the
And
cause
as
of
far
death.
as your indication there, as far as she was a whack job, who are you referring to there?
Miss Reed.
Now, as far as the undetermined or what you're talking about, what is sort of the content or the context of this conversation?
That would be the manner of death was determined to be undetermined by the medical examiner's office.
The medical examiner said we're not
your
sure.
reference there in the bottom of the first page, as far as she was
Not
a whack
sure.
job, whom do you believe you're referring to there?
Again,
Reed or the medical examiner?
Well, we
Reed.
got to make sure we. Oh, really? That was who the whack job was, Miss Reed? Because in context, I don't think that's who you're referring to. I think you're referring to the medical examiner in context. No one, because it wasn't the thing paraphrased. No wonder it was undetermined. She's a whack job. Who is she? It must be the medical examiner, because that's the frame of reference. But you say you're referring to Karen Reed, because apparently the medical examiner came up with the wrong answer, which is we're not sure. Better get that corrected. Better make sure the medical examiner knows what's really going on. Got to make sure the medical examiner comes to the correct conclusion. That's why Michael Proctor's here to help. Holy God. Better change that ME report, man. Based on completely independent judgment of the ME, don't you know? That's why Michael Proctor is here to help. I do not for one moment believe or buy that in that text message, he was referring to Karen Reed. He was clearly referring to the medical examiner. No wonder it was undetermined. She is a whack job. You were clearly referring to the medical examiner as a whack job. I call BS on the I was talking about Karen Reed analysis. I don't think so. This is why you were so mad at the other. This is why you were so mad at the other officer for not meeting with the ME, because the ME didn't have the benefit of this second person, the police officer in the room, to help the ME understand what they were looking at. Because the ME definitely needs help understanding what they're doing during an autopsy. I mean, who is more qualified than the ME to understand what they're seeing in an autopsy? Clearly, a random police officer has more understanding about what an autopsy would reveal than the medical examiner. The medical examiner just really needs that second bit of help so that they understand what they're looking at in the autopsy. And apparently what they determined was undetermined. And that answer made you sad. We got to go figure that one out. These text messages are very, very illuminating, man. Wow. 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 Cross-examination is going to be real.
I take just a second to fill counsel. Got a opinion report briefly on this packet.
I so want to know right now. I so want to know how like all the women lawyers who are streaming this are reacting to this, because I bet their reactions are even more incredulous than mine. How Emily D. Baker or attorney Melanie Little or Andrea Burkhardt is reacting to this bullshit, or Legal Bites for that matter. How are the women lawyers of LawTube reacting to this? Are they having as much fun as I am? Because I bet they're having even more fun. This is fucked up. This is so messed up. I somehow feel implicated as a man. I know I'm not Michael Proctor, but somehow I feel like this is somehow partially my problem or something, because Michael Proctor is representing the male sex right now and is not making me feel very good about manhood right now. Holy Lord. Well, the judge has no problem with it. The judge is totally fine because she's Aunt Bev. So don't ask about how the judge feels. The judge thinks this is super great. We all know how the judge feels. The female jurors are more on point. And this is the state police, as you point out. This is supposed to be the best. The state police. I guess fundamentally they're kind of like SLED in South Carolina. Apparently the state police ain't all that, baby. Apparently they're a bunch of clowns. I don't know if most young men feel that way all the time, but it's like he's definitely not an exemplar of what a man should be. So I feel ever so slightly tainted by him. Will that give over people that he investigated a chance to file for mistrial? I mean, everyone can file for mistrial, but this is not new information. This is not new information. So there won't be a mistrial granted. This case is going to a jury. I am 99.5% sure this case is going to a jury. and then we'll just have to see what the jury does. And if the jury convicts based on this, man, the appeals should be very, very real. Because the normal sorts of legal things that you would, the normal sorts of legal analysis you might do typically, or like the more extreme ideas, like, you know, the jury came to the wrong conclusion, like manifest weight, that kind of idea. Like manifest weight doesn't normally work as an idea, but here it does. You know, so you can make arguments here that are kind of like extreme arguments because the facts allow for them if there's a conviction. No reasonable jury. I'm not saying the Court of Appeals will necessarily agree, but I'm just saying you can make arguments here that might otherwise be unavailable or not realistic.
You are unmuted.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
They're handing you another set of documents. View those, look up when you're finished. Do you recognize those, sir?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize those to be?
Another text thread between myself, Trooper DeChico, and Trooper Kokowski.
And Trooper Kaskowski is another trooper within your unit in the state police, is that correct?
Yes.
And again, if you could read from the first message sent, date and time, and the last message sent, date and time.
First message sent, date and time, 5/24/2022, 9:21 p.m. Last message sent, date and time, 8/24/2022, 4:56 p.m.
And as far as the number of messages indicated within this text chain between yourself, Trooper Kakowski, and Trooper DeChico,
494.
fair to say the documents before you do not contain 494 text messages, correct?
Correct.
Just in reference to that first page 2635, first message sent, that's May 24th, 2022, around 9:21 p.m., is that correct?
Yes.
And that's a message sent from Trooper Kaskowski, is that correct?
Correct.
And what is that?
Appears to be a picture of a toy Santa Claus.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2644. If I could direct you to the bottom of the page, sir, and see the text from yourself at June 9th, 2022 at 11:19 p.m.
Yes.
How's this
Very
guy still
bottom of the page.
employed?
Your Honor, may I approach just to point it out?
Yes.
Yeah, I see it, sir.
How's this guy still have a job?
Okay.
If you could read what you wrote on June 9th, 2022, around that time, sir.
If you like women who shit themselves.
And again,
What?
sir, what is it that you're referring to there?
Again, a regrettable comment I made about Miss Reed's medical condition.
Now, if I could direct you to the following page, 2645. And again, if you could read from that page as far as who is, indicate to the jury who is speaking and what is being said on page 2645.
I'm speaking right now. The statement she made tonight at 8/7 was mental. Thank Christ it was on BWC, which is body worn camera. Trooper Kokowski responds, that's her, smoke. Trooper Kokowski again, what'd she say? I respond, said the Alberts beat the shit out of O'Keefe, left him for dead, and that's why her taillight was cracked. She's gross. Trooper DeChico, oh, fuck her, bitch.
Again, the dispassionate, objective analysis of the state police is on full display here.
Thank you, sir. May I approach to retrieve, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sir, with reference to that last bit as far as June 9th, 2022, What was going on that day in reference to this matter again?
Miss Reed was being processed at the Milton Barracks.
Thank you. I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Man, if I were asking for a moment right about now, I'd be go into the hallway and like breathe very, very deeply, do some really deep breath exercises in the hope of retaining my calm. Because wow, this is like, I mean, lawyers do have to go through it all, and lawyers do have to deal with bad facts. But man, see, the real problem, of course, is he doesn't have to be here. The state doesn't have to bring the case. The defense lawyer kind of has no choice. I mean, to some extent, because everyone's entitled to a lawyer. So, you know, if the defense lawyer is, you know, doing dirty things, to some extent they don't have a choice. But the state does, because they don't have to bring the case. They can just not.
Set of documents to recognize those.
I do.
What do you recognize those to be?
Another text thread with members from my office, troopers.
Yeah.
And who are the troopers that are listed within that?
Trooper Chris Moore, Trooper Jeff Kukowski, Lieutenant John Fanning, Trooper Dave DeChico, and Sergeant Yuri Buchanan.
And what is the first message sent, date and time?
That would be 5/26/2022 at 8:19 p.m. Last message sent, date and time, 8/26/2022, 5:36 p.m.
And what is listed as far as the number of messages within this chain?
651.
And fair to say the documents before you do not contain all 651 of those messages within this chain, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2682. You see a message sent from Trooper DeChico on August 17th, 2022 at 9:42 p.m.
Yes.
And is that an image contained on the next page, which is 2683?
Yes, it is.
And what is the image of?
That is a picture of Mr. Yannetti, appears to be from quite some time ago.
Now, turning your attention to the next page, 2684. And there's a response from you, August 17th, 2022 at 9:44 p.m. Is that correct?
Sorry, sir, go with the date and time again, please.
Page 2684, 8/17/2022, 9:44 p.m.
Yes,
You see there's like sort of three responses from you.
I have you now.
If you could just read the three responses from yourself, sir.
Okay, see, these came from me. Funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. No nude so far. I hate that man. I truly hate him.
Okay.
Now, with reference
The
to
search for nudes.
the investigation at this point, when you're talking about his client's phone, who are you referring to?
Miss Reed.
And with regards to the phone at that point, can you describe for the jury sort of what's going on during this time period of August 17, 2022 in regards to...
Yes, please explain the
Reed's
searching
phone?
for nudes thing. I look
So
forward to
after obtaining a
this.
search warrant for Miss Reed's phone, we weren't able to extract any data from it until August of 2023. Troopers in my office knew I was going through the phone that evening. I was most interested in location data, text messages, Google searches. That was the update I gave the troopers in the office. It was a distasteful joke. I should have gave a proper update instead of that. I wasn't able to go through the phone as thoroughly as possible because I came across some a text between an attorney and Ms. Reed, so I had to stop going through her phone, and I made my supervisors aware of those communications.
Now, just in reference to what you had just said, this is in August of 2022, is that correct?
Correct.
So after a search warrant is obtained for the defendant's phone, Where did it go? You indicated you gave it to Trooper Garino, and where did it go from there?
Trooper Garino essentially hooks it up to a device called Gray Key, where he tries every possible combination passcodes in order to access the data contained in the phone.
And at that time, when you retrieved it pursuant to the search warrant, you didn't have the passcode to the defendant's phone. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that device is designed to sort of go through numbers and try to find a combination to get into the phone, correct?
Correct.
And so from the time that you had seized it in late January or on January 29th, 2022, until this date in August of 2022, had you been able to get into the phone or see anything in the phone in those intervening months or 7 months between January and August?
No.
And so then at this time that you're sending this text message in August of 2022, is that around the time that you were first able to access the phone?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Yes, that was the first time we were able to have access to the phone.
And with reference to your access to the phone, were you looking for nudes or anything like that in regard to the defendant?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Like I stated, I was most interested in Miss Reed's location data, text communications, Google searches, things of that nature. More evidence contained within the phone.
You're most interested in that, but what else were you interested in? That didn't answer the question.
At some point you
Objection,
came across some
non-responsive?
that caused you to sort of freeze your looking through the phone, is that correct?
Yes.
And so as far as that specific time period in August of 2022, when was the next time that you or any troopers from your office were able to actually look at any extraction of the defendant's phone?
So once I came across that text communication that took place on the 29th between Ms. Reed and an attorney, the phone had to be sent off to what they call a taint team to remove any attorney-client privilege information from the phone, and then it would be returned to us, as well as defense received a copy of that as well. I'm not positive on the time.
Were you able to find the taint, Mr. Proctor?
Quite a long turnaround for that process to have be completed.
Sometime at least in the spring or summer of 2023, does that sound about right?
That sounds about right.
May I approach to retrieve, Your Honor?
Yes.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Tony, if someone wants to come up with a design for a taint team mug, I'm not necessarily opposed.
I have no further questions.
I don't
All
know
right,
what
so
that
I'm
would
going
look
to
like.
see you at sidebar so I don't interrupt your cross.
Oh my God, cross is gonna start. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. All right, everyone. Okay, people. Get out your popcorn. Get a beverage of your choice. Get your chair just so. Get a pillow, maybe a blanket. Get that recliner. Get the feet propped up just so. Maybe get a little massage action going, baby. Whatever it is you do, man. Cross-examination is going to start, baby. We're here for it. Here for it. Yes. Buckle up. Oh man. Oh man, this is so real. All my Christmases are going to come at once, I think. This is going to be very, very interesting in cutting this up. Because we could just use the live reactions and cut it up, but marking it out and cutting everything up is going to be really weird. It's going to take a long time. But it's so much stuff. There's no court tomorrow, right? So I'll try to get something out tomorrow. Oh, man. Yeah, by the way, on the HIPAA thing, just a friendly discussion because people mess up HIPAA. HIPAA only applies to covered entities. It's the Health Information Patient Portability Act, or it's the Health Insurance Patient Portability Act, one of those things. Anyways, but HIPAA only applies to covered entities. It only restricts covered entities. Who is a covered entity? Basically, any medical provider is a covered entity, and their insurance companies, the medical insurance companies. Those are covered entities. So basically, any doctor, any hospital, any health insurance company are covered entities. But HIPAA does not apply to you and me, and it doesn't apply, generally speaking, to just random police officers or like just random people. So HIPAA is not relevant here. Because, well, Michael Proctor's none of those things. So how he came into that information, he's none of those things. So HIPAA doesn't apply to him. So there's your HIPAA lesson for the day. And you can go look at the statute and see what covered entities are, but basically it's medical professionals and doctors, hospitals, insurance companies, and so forth. It's basically it. Health Information Patient Portability Act. See, I knew it was one of those things. And like, it's one of those things. Yeah. So yeah, it's also not HIPAA, although some people seem to think this for some reason. If a person is describing their own health conditions, HIPAA isn't applicable. Because I've talked about, my search for Vyvanse, for example. We had a whole stream on it where I was calling around pharmacies, searching for Vyvanse. I was disclosing my own medical information. Ooh, it's like, okay, HIPAA does not apply to me because I'm describing my own stuff. So, yeah. So, I'm just saying, right? And then if one of you were to talk about it for some reason, that would also not violate HIPAA. Even if you were a doctor, incidentally, because in this context, you wouldn't be learning it through the profession of being a doctor. Because I didn't engage you as a doctor. Or have someone like, you weren't employed by me to be my doctor / hospital / health insurance company / whatever, right? So if you happen to be a doctor and you happen to discuss the fact that I was searching for Vyvanse, you can do that because you learned about it through non-covered means. So the law, it also doesn't apply to you in that situation. So it requires them to keep secret things that are secret. So, yeah. But some people seem to be under the impression that HIPAA applies anytime anyone discusses medical information, even if it's their own medical information. I've actually seen tweets like that. I've seen it on bad legal takes. I've seen people actually say, you can't discuss your own health information, that violates HIPAA. It's like, could you think about that for 5 seconds? It's like, use your brain parts. Do you really think there's a law that prevents an individual from discussing their own medical information? Do you really think that's a thing? Probably not. Not for the least of reasons it would violate the First Amendment. So probably not a law. Yeah. Yeah. And then someone said police officers if they're acting in EMT capacity. And I honestly don't know the answer to that situation, because you would have an interesting time separating the roles. So I don't know what the finer points of HIPAA on that are, in terms of if you had a police officer who was also simultaneously acting as an EMT, which I suppose is possible. I honestly don't know whether HIPAA would apply in that situation or not. I'd have to go look at the statute.
You are unmuted.
All right, so just before you start then, so we'll finish at 4. We're trying to figure out the schedule this time. I'm going to meet with the lawyers.
Oh, we only got a half hour of this.
We're trying to work all that out, but as it looks right now, I thought it was going to interfere with another day this week. As it looks right now, it may not.
I could publish my entire medical chart if I wanted to. I didn't do anything.
But it does now look good that we'll be able to continue with this. We're out tomorrow, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will be full days.
Oh, good.
And we'll be able to keep moving.
That's a whole day of anticipation. That's a cock tease right there.
Go right ahead.
That's not fair.
Super Proctor, in the summer of 2022, August 17th specifically, you were sitting at your desk presumably alone at your office at about 10 p.m. at night, going through my client's personal cell phone, correct?
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, you were sitting there texting with your friends and colleagues at Massachusetts State Police about you going through her personal cell phone. Is that right?
Correct, sir.
And that included Trooper DeChico, is that right?
DeChico, yes, sir.
Trooper Fanning, Trooper Buchnick, Trooper Moore, and Trooper Kaczkowski.
Kakowski.
Tell me that again?
Kakowski.
Kakowski.
Yes, sir.
All right, all the consonants are silent. Fair enough. Trooper Fanning and Trooper Buchnick are your supervisors.
Yes.
And you were bragging to all 5 of them that you were going through Karen Reed's cell phone about 9:45 at night.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Is that right?
No, I wasn't bragging, sir.
How did you refer to Ms. Reed in that text exchange where you informed them that you were going through her phone?
I used regrettable language. I said going through his retarded client's phone right now.
You were shown a photograph of my colleague, Mr. Unetti, correct?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Same document. I need a copy. Oh, Your Honor, I think the court has the copy that I was going to use.
Oh, I thought I gave him back to you.
You'd received a photograph. Actually, Your Honor, if I could, I would ask that this document be marked as next in order. Assuming the witness verifies its authenticity.
So go ahead.
Do you recognize this document?
I do, sir.
Same document that you were shown, copy of the same document that you were shown by Mr. Unetti, correct?
Stilali.
I've done that twice. Mr. Lally.
Correct.
All right. Is that a true and accurate reflection of the text messages that you were exchanging with Chris Moore, Jeff Kakowski, John Fanning, Vito DeChico, and Yuri Buchanan?
Yes.
I'd ask that this be marked.
Okay, any objection?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'll see you outside down there. Have that, please.
Yes, ma'am.
You
Yeah, Naffler in chat says I'm a legal guardian for her, so I was given a copy of her records. So that sounds like HIPAA would not apply in that situation because you are her. That's what it means to be a legal guardian, right? So you were given a copy of your own medical records. I mean, they're her records, but we know what we're talking about, right? Because you're a legal guardian. So you're given a copy of records in the capacity as a legal guardian. So if you're given records in the capacity as a legal guardian, it's the exact same legally as the patient having copy of them because the patient's a ward. So yeah, if you were to disclose medical records, HIPAA does not apply because it would be the same as the patient disclosing them because you are the patient for legal purposes. That's what it means to be a legal guardian in some senses. So it should be fine. Carazola X for $5 says crazy they put Proctor on the stand. Usually it's a risky move to have the defendant testify. That's nice comment. I like that one. Very good. 10 out of 10 points. Well done. Good times. Yeah, they really had to put her on this. I like the joke though. I mean, it's a risky move for the defendant on the stand. That was a very good joke. But yeah, the prosecution really had to put him on the stand. There was really no alternative. I mean, he's the lead investigator, and all roads point to him. You have to put him on the stand, and I'm here for it. I'm just disappointed that I'm about to be cock teased because I'm about to be touched in the morning and then they walk away because we only have about 20 more minutes of this before the court is done for the day, and then there's no court tomorrow. That is just not fair. That is not fair. That is a lot of anticipation and teasing. And Uncivil is slightly disappointed by this news. Touch me in the morning and walk away. Woof. That's like num 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 num. This could be a very lengthy cross. This could be a very lengthy cross. The state may not have very many questions for him, but the defense does. By the way, it's a technical matter because someone asked me earlier, as long as we're here to learn something legally, as a technical legal matter, under the rules of evidence, under the rules of trial, the cross-examination is by rule limited to the same scope as direct. So you could get a scope objection. The idea being there that the defense always has the opportunity to call them as their own witness to ask questions of broader scope. And of course, if the defense were to do that, they'd be able to call them as a hostile witness because of every possible reason, which means on direct, they'd be allowed to ask leading questions because that's what that means. Okay. So by strict rule, the cross is limited to the same scope because the defense can call the same witness and change the scope if they want. Now, as a matter of practical reality, most judges, in fact, nearly all judges do not run it that tight. Okay, it is the exception, not the rule, that judges run it that tight. Most judges allow you to go beyond the scope, and it's probably correct to say a majority of judges don't care about scope at all because it's a time efficiency issue, right? It's like, look, we could, limit scope now just to have the defense call the exact same witness and ask the exact same questions later. So we could do that, but
unmuted.
Why? Right? So most judges allow for open scope, but it's kind of up to the judge. So most judges don't care. In fact, including me, I'd be strongly disinclined to care if I were a judge because it's just more efficient and saves time. And why? So.
May I inquire, Your Honor?
Yes.
Trooper Proctor, Trooper DeChico had sent you a photograph of my colleague, Mr. Unetti, correct?
Look at this photograph. Every time I look, it makes me laugh.
Your Honor, because of the technical issue, I'm not going to display on the television. May I display this hard copy briefly? Sure. Thank you. You see that, gentleman?
I do, sir.
Is that the photograph that you received?
Yes.
Is that what you referred to on direct examination with Mr. Lally about receiving the photograph from of Mr. Unetti?
Correct.
And then your response was what?
I hate that man. I truly hate that man.
Actually, your response was, I'm going through his retarded client's phone right now, correct?
Yes, after the picture, sir, yes.
Who's the retarded client?
I was referring to Miss Reed, again, unprofessional language.
I'm asking for who you were referring to.
Miss
I know
Reed.
you got an explanation. Who was it that you were referring to as retarded?
Miss Reed.
Karen Reed, the woman sitting to my left.
Yes, sir.
The subject of your investigation as a professional, correct?
Yes, sir.
As an unbiased, objective investigator. The person that you were investigating, you referred to your bosses as retarded. Correct?
Again, poor language on my part.
Poor language is one way to put it. Completely offensive is another way to put it, right?
Objection.
I've got to sustain that, Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He got his point across. He
As you
doesn't
referred
need
to
it.
my client as retarded, then you decided to make a comment about Mr. Unetti, her lawyer, correct?
Correct.
And what did you say about Mr. Unetti again?
I hate that man. I truly hate that man.
I hate that man I truly hate him, correct?
Correct.
You didn't say I dislike him, disagree with him. You said I hate him, correct?
Correct, sir.
That's a visceral response to someone who's just doing a job, correct?
Objection.
I bet the witness feels
Stand
roughly the
ask it
same way
differently.
about this
Sure.
this
Let me ask
attorney
it this
too. If
way.
I were a betting
Were you
man,
upset or annoyed or pissed off that Karen Reed had gotten representation, legal representation, to represent her?
No, not at all. That's her right.
yeah. Then why'd you hate him?
Well, let me ask you this. In August of 2022, you said you absolutely hate him, correct?
I don't know if I use absolutely. Yeah, I didn't use absolutely, sir.
You used truly, correct?
Truly, yes.
How do you feel about him now? He's sitting right there.
I still don't care for him now.
Right. I'll let it stand.
Did you just say you don't care for him? Is that what you said? Maybe I misheard it.
What did you tell your colleagues that you were looking for as you sat at almost 10 p.m. at night on a Wednesday night, August 17th, 2022, looking through Karen Reed's phone?
I didn't tell them I was looking through anything. They knew I was going through Miss Reed's phone. I provided a inappropriate joke as an update. They knew I was going through location data,
It's a
text
joke.
messages, Google searches.
Been
But
looking
I
for news
mentioned
is a
earlier,
joke.
I had to stop.
Except for Proctor, none of that really professional sounding stuff ended up in your comments to your bosses, did it?
Again, it was a poor joke.
Is that yes or no?
I did not know.
It did not.
No,
As a
sir.
matter of fact, what did you write after you talked about going through the, quote, retarded client's phone?
Objection.
I'll
No,
allow
it's a
it.
fair question. Yeah, it's a fair question.
No nudes so far.
No nudes so far, correct?
Correct.
And you said that to your bosses.
Yes, sir.
You were looking for naked photographs of Miss Reed on a Wednesday night as you sat in your office at 9:44 p.m., correct?
No, not correct.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked for naked photos of a male suspect that you were investigating?
I don't look for naked photos in anyone's phones.
Sure.
But you said you were looking for nudes of Miss Reed,
Like I had
correct?
said, Mr. Jackson, it was an inappropriate joke.
Uh-huh. Who believes
So
that?
this is a citizen.
Yeah.
She's a woman.
Yeah.
You were supposed to be objectively investigating. Does your text message to your colleagues at Massachusetts State Police reflect an objective investigation of a citizen?
Objection.
You can get part of that question and ask it again.
It is a little argumentative.
Do you believe that your text messages were reflective of an objective investigator?
Objection.
I'll allow that. Do you believe that, Trooper Proctor?
I believe poor jokes have, in unprofessional language, have no bearing on the integrity and the facts and physical evidence of this
Sure.
case.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
not that they
Let's
don't
go with
have
that.
any bearing on the facts and integrity. It's that they have no place in a professional investigation because it shows bias, right?
Objection.
So I have to sustain that as
That is
asked. Go ahead and
argumentative.
ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
He doesn't really care. He doesn't care that's
You weren't
sustained.
so much as
He gets the point
objectively
through.
investigating Karen Reed as objectifying her, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Isn't that right?
Rephrase the question, please.
You weren't so much as objectively investigating her as objectifying her in those moments, correct?
Again, Mr. Jackson, it was a poor choice of words and a joke that I should not have texted out. But from the start of the investigation, we didn't know what we had.
And your Trooper Proctor,
Apparently, you did know what
Your
you had
point
because from the very
in
start of the
saying no
investigation, you were
news
saying
so
things like this
far
against her.
to your colleagues in Massachusetts State Police
Yeah.
was to suggest that you were looking for nudes and you'd update them when you found them, correct?
Incorrect.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you find any nudes of
Again,
Karen Reed?
I didn't go through the photos, sir.
Did you find any nudes of Karen Reed?
I didn't go through the photos, sir.
You weren't successful in your quest.
I came across text messages from Miss Reed to another attorney on January 29th, so I had to stop looking through her phone.
So you got sidetracked before you could get to the naked pictures of Miss Reed.
I wonder what he got sidetracked by.
Sustained.
to be clear, when you sent those text messages on that group chat, those text messages included, as we said, or as you said, not one, but two of your supervisors, correct?
Correct.
Were you ever reprimanded for your conduct in sending that text message?
Objection.
So that's sustained. Do we need to go to sidebar based on what you told me earlier?
We do not.
Okay, so,
I'll ask it a different way.
okay.
Did either Trooper Fanning or Trooper Buchanan dress you down in a responsive text message in that text thread for doing something so abhorrent as looking for nudes or referring to nudes of a female suspect or subject of your investigation? Did that ever happen?
Not that I can recall.
Yeah, yeah.
As a matter of fact,
It's per normal over there.
in reference to one of the text messages in this same string, your boss, Yuri Buchanan, actually responded to the photo of Mr. Yannetti, didn't he?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
He did, sir.
This is unreal.
After you received the photo, that's when you said, I'm, quote, funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. Is that right?
Objection.
I'll allow this, but not too many more.
Sure.
Asked and answered.
Is that correct? It's on the top of page
Yes, sir.
685.
That's correct.
And Yuri Buchanan liked that comment. Funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. Didn't he?
I see you laughed at an image here, sir. I can't tell if he liked that comment, sir.
May I approach?
Yes.
I don't know if it's just because it's faded or, yeah, my copy's faded.
Top 2685. You can use my copy if that helps.
All right. Thank you.
What do you see on the top of that page?
That Sergeant Buchanan liked it.
Like what?
The going through his retarded client's phone, sir.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'll take my copy.
There you go.
So not so much with the reprimand as my supervisor liked the comment.
So your supervisors at Massachusetts State Police not only didn't ride you for making comments like this, he encouraged it.
Objection.
Sustained.
Yeah.
Trooper Proctor, this is your direct chain of command. Is that right? You're Buchanan?
Yes, sir.
Did you believe that your conduct was a misuse of your authority and power as you were going through her phone in August of 2022?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No, I had a warrant signed by a district clerk, Stoughton district clerk, to go through Miss Reed's phone. I don't think it was an abuse of power. I had every right to go through that phone.
Did the warrant say anything about looking for nudes of my client?
Objection.
Did it
No,
say anything about that?
Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
So that would be an abuse of the power that was given to you by the court, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
He's going to ask this question as many ways as he can to get the point home, and I don't blame him. I respect it. He wants to make sure that the point is home with the news.
Trooper Proctor, you'd agree that the hallmark of any good investigation, as you've been taught and others in Massachusetts State Police have been taught, is that the investigation and the investigator have to be fair. They have to be impartial. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Meaning that the investigation has to be free of conflicts, right?
Yes, sir.
The investigator has to be free of conflicts, right?
Yes,
The investigation has to be free of bias. Is that right?
correct.
You can't be biased against the person that you're investigating. That would compromise the entire thing, wouldn't it?
Pretty
Yes.
much.
Basically, you follow the evidence. You're supposed to follow the evidence wherever it takes you, right?
Correct.
Good or bad, top to bottom, just follow the evidence and report it back.
Follow the
That's how an
facts, follow the
investigation is
law,
supposed to be
baby.
run, isn't it?
Follow
Yes,
the
sir.
And
facts,
these are
follow
things
the
that you
law.
learn early on at Massachusetts State Police Academy and then in your detective training. Isn't that right?
It is.
Literally, it's part of an oath that you took at the academy
Yeah.
that you will, quote, faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all of the duties incumbent
Yeah.
on you as a Massachusetts State Police trooper, right?
Yes, sir.
You swore that oath.
I did.
When you start an investigation, everybody in that investigation should be treated exactly the same. Don't you believe that's true?
Correct.
Everybody, have you ever heard the phrase, everybody's a suspect until they're not? Right?
Objection.
Sustained.
It's especially important early in an investigation, before all of the facts are known, that the investigator is not compromised by bias, prejudice, right?
Correct.
Most important early in the investigation.
I'm pretty
because that's
positive
when
he's just trying to run
most
out the
things
clock.
are up in the air. There's the cloud,
And tomorrow's going to be a very interesting day for the attorney.
Right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Tonight
In other
and
words,
tomorrow is going to be
Proctor,
very
you don't get
interesting
to
for the
pick a
attorney.
suspect and then try
He's
to
going to be
find
in a
evidence
room, locked in
to
a room
support your
somewhere with
choice, right?
some close associates
Correct.
writing cross-examination questions.
But in this case, it's exactly
gonna
what
be
you
fun.
did, isn't it?
Absolutely not.
All right, Mr. Jackson, why don't we end for today?
Yeah, why don't we end for the day? So I
Go to
can.
places and thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, so folks,
I love
we're
it.
off tomorrow. Those same 3 cautions, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, read anything about the case, please disregard
Tonight
it.
and tomorrow,
Wednesday
these
mornings.
attorneys
Wednesday,
are going to be in a
Thursday,
room,
Friday,
probably
right
with some
now,
paralegals, and they're just going to be writing all day tonight and all day tomorrow. They're just going to be writing every fantasy question they've ever thought of, assuming they haven't already done it, but they're going to do it again. They're going to just sit in a room. They're going to sit in tomorrow like writers in a writer room and just workshop the shit out of this. It's going to be an epic day. To be a fly on that wall, man. How many questions can we ask
All
about
right, so
Proctor?
one last time at sidebar for scheduling, okay?
We're going to ask Proctor everything he was present at, looked at, thought of, conceived of, had any hand. We're going to ask him every question of every thought he's ever had relating to this case. And I'm here for it. And it's going to be great. The roast of Trooper Proctor, big time. Yeah, we should get some comedians in the room too while we're at it. Do some true roast style questions. That'd be good, although we're already there, to be honest. I don't think that Karen Reed's the only one with a leaky butthole. Hey, yo. Or maybe the joke is better. I don't think Karen Reed is the only one full of shit. Hey, yo. I don't know what the right joke is there, but you guys can workshop that amongst yourselves. There's the, comedy's hard. Good times. No one is laughing at my jokes. I guess they weren't good. Oh well. Thought I'd get a lull or something from chat. I'll keep working on the comedy. You gotta laugh. I mean, you gotta laugh or you're gonna cry. So you gotta, you might as well laugh. Nate was never a defense attorney. Nate was a prosecutor. If you want a defense attorney, apologize, Andrea Burkhart, she does criminal appeals. And Sean does criminal work. I think those are the only ones in Law 2 who do criminal work. Something about a proctologist for Trooper Proctor. Let the comedians handle the jokes. Well, I want to be a comedian. Some people think I'm very funny, and I've thought about doing stand-up, and now's as good a time as any to work on my comedic chops and work on my timing and everything else, right? So and try to figure out what works and what doesn't and try to make it work. Maybe one day I'll do stand-up. It could be fun. So, and how do you become a comedian? I guess practice, 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 right? That's what every comedian says. There's really no way to learn it except by doing it. And that's how you learn. Lawyer, does he do criminal work? He might. I forget what his practice area is. DUI guy does criminal. I mean, obviously DUI is principally, but yeah, sure, of course. My chat response has been humorous. Thank you. You mean my comments on YouTube? I've been trying to make it fun. Natalie the lawyer check, you're absolutely correct. Natalie the lawyer check, she is a public defender, 100%. Yep. So she might be actually some ways the most qualified from a trial perspective because she does it every single day. That's what she does. That's her life. So yeah, Natalie the lawyer check is maybe the best on point. Your lawyer, knows personal injury. Yeah, I thought that made sense. Mashup shorts of this trial of me laughing out loud. Me too. I've been enjoying them. I look forward to being in more of them. It's been fun. Runkle's Canadian defense attorney. That's true. Runkle's a public defender in Canada, so that's fair. Some of that knowledge may come over, so that's fair. Bruce Rivers, yeah. Although I don't normally think of Bruce Rivers within LawTube. But yes. That isn't a slight on Bruce Rivers. It's just that he doesn't really run in our circles. You know what I mean? He doesn't appear on streams with other people.
All right, thank you very much.
Or have people appear on streams with him. He's a solo act. He's kind of a solo act. So he just doesn't run in our circles. He's an independent. Same with Steve Leto, for example. Same thing. Like Steve Leto doesn't appear on stream with other people. He doesn't have people on his stream. He doesn't run in our circles. So I wouldn't consider him part of LawTube because he doesn't run in our community. So, but Bruce Rivers is fun. Well, we're back full day. Not tomorrow, but day after. So we're back whatever time they normally start trial, 9 a.m. I presume. And we're doing a full day then, and nothing but cross. So it's going to be very, very real. So, yeah. So we have a stream. Has the mashup helped your channel grow? I couldn't really speak to the mashup in particular, helping the channel grow. Probably not very much, although it can't hurt. But the fact that the content I'm posting myself has been as popular as it is has driven a lot of growth. Although recently the videos have not been as popular as they have been. They're only getting like about half as much as they did before, where they were like just like, where I was like having a week where everything was like 50K, 70K, 35K, right? So right now the videos are like underperforming somewhat. So I don't know if it's a fatigue issue or what's going on there, but we're still growing. I mean, we're still making growth. It's just not like banner growth. It's not like it was before when we were just absolutely like dominating. And of course we lost 1,000 subs because I screwed up things. So, it's fine. But let's take a look at the growth chart right now I'll take a look at let's see what we're doing in terms of our growth. Yeah. So like on the we were really growing like crazy between May 24th and like May 30th. We had like an unbelievable amount of growth. And then we lost 1,000 subs on the 6th. Lame. On the 7th, we were plus 13. So we stopped dropping. That's nice. Saturday, we were plus 128. And Sunday, we were plus 132. So, which is about what we were doing. Well, it's actually slightly better than we were doing before the crash, before the before my faux pas. It was before then we're doing plus 80, plus 78, plus 29, plus 82. So we're actually doing slightly better in terms of growth than we were before. But, you know, that's fine. And in terms of subs total, we are currently at 136, 713. So that means we should, at that pace, we should be above, today's Monday, right? So at that pace, we should be above 137 by the end of the week again. So could be worse. That's where we're wrapping up. You separate your clips from your main channel? You mean the shorts? I do. That's true. The shorts I do separate from my main channel. I'm not sure how much the shorts help, to be honest, if at all. But I did have shorts on my main channel, and then I took them off, which was how we ran into the problem of me accidentally like flooding everyone's feed with old videos in the first place, was from that error. But yeah, I don't know how much the shorts under 60 seconds are helping. Yeah, and exactly. It's my job, so I have to care about the numbers. I have to care about growth. I have to care about sustainability. I have to worry about growth. This is my job. So I have to worry about growth, and I have to worry about revenue, and I have to worry about all that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, we do have to, those are things I very much have to worry about. Those are my issues. Lawful Masses is not on LawTube. No. His closest connection was me. He never really got into our circles. So yeah, I wouldn't consider Lawful Masses to be part of LawTube. I don't think he would either, you know, so I would consider LawTube basically the set of people that basically have historically appeared on people's channels and had them on their channels, right? So that would be sort of my ballpark of who is and who's not in LawTube. People who have appeared on other people's channels and collab with other people. So, like Natalie the lawyer chick, although Boss Attorney Bree less so these days. I haven't seen her like running around these circles recently, so I don't know whether or not she would qualify these days. But yeah, Natalie the lawyer chick, Rakita, Attorney Tom, although not as much. Joe Neerman, Good Logic, Runkle. Lon Lumber's more on his own these days. Emily D. Baker's on her own these days. Yeah, so I mean, those are just like some rough characterizations. I mean, it's a very sort of ad hoc thing. I think different people would have different definitions of who is or is not inside LawTube. And it's just a legal bites. Yeah, legal bites. And it's not like a slight on any of these people. It's just the way they choose to run their channels, right? Some of those people choose to run more independently than other people. So, you know, it's just how I sort of conceive of it in my own mind. Shorts help you discover people I may watch. I could go back to publishing shorts on the main channel. I'll talk to the YouTube reps about it. I like the fact that you answer the subs in the comment section. Thank you. I appreciate that. Try to go through and make sure that responses are made. All right, I'm going to sign off for now. I hope all's well for now. I'll talk to you guys later. There will be a video posting at 4:15, so this should redirect you there automatically anyway. And I hope you enjoy the one that we cut. We cut it up yesterday. It deals with the Sally port and stuff. So I hope you enjoy it. And until later.